Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm the guy with the beard. Though my wife doesn't like it, so it looks like it's coming to an end shortly. oh no. All in favor of the beard? Yes. All right. Hey, today we're going to continue our conversation on vision. If you missed last week, you can catch up on the Broward Church website, browardchurch.org. Last week, we began our conversation with a definition. We defined vision as this: a picture of the future that creates passion in people. And so today, I would like to paint for you a picture of the future of the Broward Church that I pray will stir our spirits towards some passion. Create a desire to use our potential and our abilities and our talents and our resources to bring to life the vision that this church has. But before I share it with you, I want to first examine one of the most critical leadership transitions in ancient times, in order that we might capture a glimpse of what it takes to actually pursue vision. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, we find a seasoned leader, a man by the name of Moses, who had led a nation of Israel for more than 40 years. And he had led these people through some tumultuous times and also through some glorious moments in the nation's history. Moses had seen captivity in Egypt and the miracles beyond measure. He had even seen God literally split the sea. And he led God's people with great enthusiasm out of enslavement in Egypt and into the wilderness. And here in Deuteronomy chapter 31, this seasoned leader summons his successor. He summons him in front of all of the nation of Israel, and he has some advice for this new leader. And this is what he says in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 7. He says, "Be strong and courageous, for you must go with these people into the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. You must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." I imagine the young leader quietly leaving the palace, wondering to himself what about his new job is going to require courage. A short time later, after the death of Moses, God himself would speak to this newly appointed leader. He would say the same words that he had heard from his predecessor, and this time it's God speaking to Joshua in Joshua chapter 1. "Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Now I imagine the leader's head is spinning. His heart is racing, thinking, oh my gosh, what is going to require so much courage? And within a matter of months, this young leader, Joshua, would learn what every single man and woman who ever steps out on God's vision would discover. He would learn that vision is not for the faint of heart. Which is why I want to talk to you today very candidly, like you are a member of the staff of this church. Clarifying, you are a member of the unpaid staff of this church. I want to share with you, before we talk about where we want to go, I want to build a case to the fact that courage, old-fashioned fortitude, bravery, grit, toughness, resolve, and perseverance are going to be critical to dreaming new dreams, for finding new visions and pursuing purposes both in our lives and in the lives of the church. See, anytime God calls a man or a woman to something greater than themselves, whenever he dares them to take a picture of the future, he always gives them a prerequisite: courage. You must have courage. See, God didn't call us into his kingdom so that we could preside over something. He didn't call us into his kingdom so we could protect our position or we could pontificate about how much wiser we are than the rest of the world. God called us so that we could be a part of the wonderful weaving of this tapestry, being given a glorious purpose, so that you and I can participate in God's amazing story. Here is an oversimplified chart. I said I would speak to you like one of the staff members of the church. And if I was talking to the staff and we were thinking about how to move people in vision, this is what I would say to them. That moving people in vision, moving people towards a vision is like this, is moving people from here to there. These two words represent, here is the default setting of people. All of us have a here. It's the place you are right now. It's a place you're kind of like, there could be something better in my life. There could be something greater. Maybe I'm longing for some sort of purpose. There's a kind of a place of wanting, a place of desire. It could even be a place of frustration. And then all of us have a there. There is the place you want to go. There is the place that you feel like, man, I'm going to find purpose here. I'm going to find fulfillment here. I'm going to find vision here. And here's kind of a trade secret. We move people from here to there by building a logical and biblical case that they can't stay here. That here is a place of spiritual discontentment. And then, when they're convinced of that, then we try, with God's help, to paint a picture, and we describe how wonderful, how magnificent, how fantastic it's going to be when they get there. Here is no good. There is wonderful. That's what I would tell the staff about how to move people from here to there. And see, it looks really easy. Like, look at this line. And you're like, leadership is easy. Why do they even pay you? See, each of us who has ever led anything or has ever tried to pursue vision would realize the ugly battle scars of trying to move someone from here to there. Because sometimes here to there looks like this. It's like good times and bad times. Good times and bad times, up and down. You never really know what direction you're going. And sometimes here to there even looks like this. That's what it's like to lead me, Like I don't even know where here begins and where there ends. I don't know how long it's going to take. But and I promise you, this here to there thing is actually far more difficult than anybody could possibly imagine. And it's why I believe God and Moses began the instructions to young Joshua with this phrase, strong and courageous. Because to help people capture vision requires far more courage than any onlooker could ever possibly imagine. This is why we were given in the verses like 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, where Paul speaks to his young leader Timothy. God has given us a spirit. God gave us a spirit, he says, not of fear, but of power and love and self-discipline. This is why the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 16 would say this, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Or how about this, David speaking to his son in 1 Chronicles chapter 28, be strong and courageous and do it. Do not be afraid, do not be dismayed, for the Lord God, even my God, is with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. These verses are a reminder that it takes courage to pursue vision. It takes courage to pursue vision. And I want to give you a personal example of this. Because honestly, it takes courage to try new things. I prayed a lot about whether or not to share this example with you. But I'm just going to be real. I'm not trying to play a victim. I just think it's important for me to share. For the last few years, we've been trying some new things here in the church. And you know that because, here's a picture of what the church looked like 3 years ago. Yeah, this is me on a lift. This curtain here that I took down almost broke my arm. But anyway, this is what it looked like. You remember that brick wall thing? You remember what it looked like. And I was going to show you a picture of what it looked like today, but you're literally looking at it. These changes, these physical changes, are all like a physical metaphor of this thought that we would try new things in order to reach people in a new way. That we would try things, that we would go out and we would give things a shot to find more people, that we would give things a shot in order to help elevate and encourage brothers and sisters who haven't been elevated and encouraged in a long time. These changes would serve sort of as a reminder for what we were trying to do. We changed our name, again, as a reminder of our mission. We invested in areas we had never invested in before. We explored new types of leadership and leadership styles and worship styles and training. We placed a stronger emphasis on small groups, on personal responsibility, and on interpersonal relationships. Those things aren't new, but we refocused our attention on them. We learned to partner with organizations in our community to help the poor better than we had ever been able to do. And so we sat at their feet, and God has blessed it. We came up with this slogan, I read it in a book, but a church not for ourselves. that we would be a church for the community. And God, again, has blessed it. We've grown. We've seen marriages restored and people repent of their sin. We've shed tears with people as they took courageous steps to overcoming sin in their life. And there's so much more work to do, but God, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. But as we began to make some of the changes, it was tough for me. And again, I'm going to be real to you this morning. It was hard for me because I was trying to follow a vision that I really did believe God had put on the leadership's heart to pursue. You know, I'd been trained under some visionary people. John and Pat Brush, John and Barbara Porter, Marcus and Amy Overstreet, and they taught me to be a dreamer. They taught me to be discontent with the mediocrity in my life. And then that translated into the way I thought about the church. I dreamed for you. I prayed for you. I longed to see what God would do with this community, that God would do something great with it. And so with the support of the elders and the support of the staff and many others, we moved forward on this dream of changing things and exploring and trying new things to reach new people in a new way. We changed things to glorify God in a new way. But what I didn't anticipate, just like Joshua, what I didn't realize was the amount of courage it would take to pursue a dream that God gave me, or God gave us. See, my cowardness showed up in a way I had never expected before. As we started changing things, people would rightly so share with me some of their concerns about the direction that we were going in. Some of them were genuine and required some really serious thought. Others, and I'm going to put it plainly, were critical. Even though the overwhelming feedback was positive, over time it became really hard for me to distinguish between the concerns and the critics. I couldn't figure it out, and so I was frustrated. I was discouraged. I would hear one comment, and it would make me feel like, oh, why? And I just kind of got into my own feelings and frustration, and I was stuck. I was frustrated. Again, I was trying so hard to do something, but I just felt like it was all slipping out of my hands. It came to a head at the start of last year after one particular set of conversations where I came home from a meeting, and I told Cassandra, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna resign from my position. I don't know. I'll be like a ski instructor in Denver. That's what I'll do. It's just far less stress than what I'm dealing with now. And please hear that. Please hear this. It's not because of the comments. It's not because of the resistance. It's because I didn't know how to have courage. It's because I didn't understand the courage it would take to face somebody else who had other opinions than I did. I didn't understand courage. But so many people kind of came and literally encouraged me, fused me with courage. They were training me to be brave, not to run away, not to push aside. These brothers and sisters and my wife taught me so much. And they sat me down and they reminded me of the calling of Joshua. It's time for you, Tony, to be strong and courageous. Joe Stearns during that time sent me a quote that was sort of like a rebuke, but it was wonderful. But President Theodore Roosevelt, and to this day, it just fuels me. It's not the critic who counts. Not the man who points out how strong men stumble or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again. At least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with the cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. The encouragement was that it's time for you to stop whining. It's time for you to get some courage. It's okay to fail. It's okay to try something and to get up after you've tried and you failed again. It's okay. We were trying something. And again, this isn't a criticism of the people who brought up concerns to me. I don't want it to sound like it is. If you want to talk to me about anything, you got my email, send me an email or sit me down. Honestly, I appreciate all your feedback. That's not the point. The point is about me lacking the courage to continue in the face of adversity. And over those few months, God kind of transformed my heart and instilled me with great sense of you know what? Amen. It is such a time as this. I'm called for this moment. And it ended with, for me, it's just an epiphany happened in August of this past year. someone shared with me after I preached at a church conference we had, a person shared with me, a person who had shared with me before about their concerns. They came up to me with tears in their eyes and shared with me that what we were doing here in Broward had, and this is a direct quote, was she said, life-changing. It's been absolutely life-changing. She continued to say, I was baptized 30 years ago, and I've never been as excited about my faith as I am right now. I went home that night, and I cried. And I was broken. Not because I did something special, but because I had almost quit. That's why I cried. Because I had almost given up. Every vision tests the mettle of man. And it tested me for sure. If we don't have courage, and this happens way too often, when we get a cool, challenging dream from God, we abort it secretly, killing it off quietly. Who's ever going to really know? We're dripped with fear, and so we play it safe. God sends it to us, and we just pack it up in a FedEx box and kind of ship it back to God. Let some other fool deal with that vision. We say, no thanks, it's too risky. But see, I live with a deep-seated conviction that throughout history, God, our gracious God, has sent powerful visions to people, individuals and communities alike. So many of us, visions that could have launched exciting changes in our churches. Visions that could have reached more people, visions that could have established new projects, visions that could have impacted our community or moved our movement or grew a church, or visions that could have cared for the poor and the widow and the oppressed like never before. Visions to both old people and to young people alike, only to have those visions snuffed out because we thought the cost was way too high. Or we thought that the potential for failure was way too great. And these deaths occur behind a veil of security, a veil of silence, behind a veil of wisdom and not ruffling any feathers, behind the tyranny of common sense. You can't dream those dreams, and the fear of failure. And I get it because I've been more paralyzed more times than I would ever want to admit to you today. And I've beaten myself up mercilessly for being a coward throughout my leadership. But then I thought about my life. I thought about what it looked like at the end of my days, and I realized that I have to live with myself. And not only that, but one day I'm going to stand before God. And I imagine that visions will be treated like they are, like the talents are treated in Matthew 23, that there would be an expectation that we would use those visions to glorify God. And so I want to repeat to myself, and I want everyone here to repeat to themselves. Anybody here who's ever been given a vision by God to make something better or to impact those around you, I want to give you the words, and I want to give myself the words that God gave to Joshua. It's time for us to be strong and courageous. It's time for you, Tony, to be strong and courageous. Do not fear, because God himself is with you, and he will never leave you or forsake you. I thought of how close I'd come to killing the vision I'm about to present to you today, before I'd even breathed a word of it to anybody. And I would have killed it because I was afraid of people. What a colossal tragedy that fear-induced abortion would have been. Brothers and sisters, visions are holy commodities. They come from our transcendent God, and so it's time for us to treat them with utmost respect. And for God's sake and for the world's sake, don't just kill them off in a late-night fit of cowardness. If you're fearful, then get on your knees and say the same prayer that Joshua had to pray, and say it as many times as you need to say it. Be strong and courageous. Oh, can you go back for me? Oh. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, because God will be with you and not forsake you. And then after you pray it as many times as you need to pray it, then get up from your knees and walk in faith and do something. And so today is a day I have to step out on faith, despite the fact that I'm kind of afraid. I'm a little less afraid than I told the 9 o'clock group, but I'm telling you now. And I'm just going to trust God that he's going to achieve the things we're dreaming for, through his power, through his strength, and in his time, and for his glory. And if God doesn't want us to do it, then I'm gladly going to give it back to him. You can recycle it and give it to some other guy. I haven't been called here. I really do believe this. Or you haven't been called here just to be mediocre. You've been called here to step out on faith, to move something all the way from here to there, despite your fear. I will not go to my grave with a vision shriveling up and dying inside of me. I will not go to my grave. I will not die a coward. And so I want to present to you a picture of the future of the Broward Church that I believe should stir passion in all of us. Over the last 2 years, we have grown as a congregation. It's been very encouraging, about 15%. I praise God for that. We've seen 80% of our members serving in a capacity, which I'm so excited about. I'd love to see that get higher. We've seen 95% of our membership in community groups. Joe would say it's actually 93.5%, but I'm just going to go ahead and say 95%. Last year, we went to 2 services, and we have seen our average attendance of those 2 services grow every single month over month. God has been doing so much for us already these past couple of years, but this year, I am praying for a breakthrough. There are 3 words that we're going to use to define the vision of the future of this church, and it's these 3 words. And I'm going to explain them after I put them up here. Win, train, send. Let me talk a little bit about each of them. The first part of our vision is this. We want to win this county for Christ. We're shooting real small. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19, it says, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. Matthew chapter 28, we know this calling of Jesus to his disciples before he ascended into heaven. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Throughout the New Testament, we see God giving people certain groups of people to reach, dreams in their hearts as God sort of allows us to partner with him to help people find him. The vision to win the county for Christ is sort of a broader vision than we've ever had here before. It kind of speaks of our name. We are the Broward Church. We want to help people find Jesus throughout the county. A few years ago, I presented the idea that small groups could saturate the county in different areas. And as we kind of worked on the vision and explored it, we realized quickly that all of our small groups are mainly located within a 5-mile radius of this building. And studies show that the average American will not drive more than 20 minutes to church. That's why I say that the brothers and sisters in Margate and in Tamarack and Coconut Creek and Coral Springs and Miami Lakes and Fort Lauderdale, you aren't the average Americans, you're extraordinary. Anyway, so we adjusted our vision to include this. Over the next few years, we are praying to God that we will be able to plant 2 new campuses of the Broward Church in 2 different areas, in Northern Broward and in East Broward. The 2 campus names that I have right now, and I just made this up, are Broward Church Margate and Broward Church Fort Lauderdale. Planting these would allow us, again, to find more people who want to know Jesus. And I don't have any specifics yet, but it's time for us to pray and get on our knees and figure out how to make it happen. But if our mission is to win the county, I really do believe we have to be in the county. And here's why I feel so strongly about that. Here is our big why. Here's the big why of winning this county for Christ. This is Chris Palmer. He's my friend. He's my friend. He's a brother that I love deeply. A guy who I would go into battle with. This is Todd Shanaman. This is our why. This is Tamara Shanaman. This is why. This is Monique. This is why. This is Sophia. This is why. And honestly, I can flip through like 45 other pictures. But instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video of someone who was baptized this morning.
And what is your good confession?
Jesus is Lord.
Carlos Spadero was baptized this morning. And this is our why. We don't want to build buildings. I don't even know why we'd want to do that. But what we want to do is reach people. And these people represent someone's brother and someone's child and their dorm mate, someone's mother and their father, their next door neighbor, someone's cousin, their family member. These people represent people who are, to be frank, people who were doomed to hell before God swooped in and saved their lives. And so this is our vision. Saving people's lives again. Making a difference for them. These people put flesh to this vision. We want to win this county for Christ. Who? And I want to encourage you about who we want to reach. We want to reach our neighbors. We want to reach our coworkers. We want to reach our friends and our family members. And here's another little thing. We want to reach some men. I'm just going to tell you a little statistic. But the Barna Group, there was a study done that said that when a mother converts to the faith, 17% of the time, the rest of her family converts. But when a father converts to the faith, 90% of the time, the rest of the family converts. We got to figure out how to reach men. If you got some ideas, you can shoot me an email. We got to figure out how to win this county, and the beautiful thing about this is that you are the method. You are, and now everyone's like a little quiet now. You are the method that God has chosen to win people. You are it. God has placed you exactly where you are. In that job you hate, God placed you there. In that family that you're like, these people are dysfunctional, God has placed you there. God has placed you so that you can have a purpose and reach people and help them find God in a way that they've never even understood Him before, so that marriages can be restored, so that people can come to life again. So many people in our world are hurting and they're just wandering. Why can't we extend an olive branch? Why can't we show people what it means to be a disciple and change someone's eternity? It's time for you to walk in faith, to learn to be bold, and also learn to be compassionate, to care for hurting people, to be a shoulder in which people can cry on, to talk to people, even though in your whole job you never talk to anybody. It's time for you to talk to some people, to show them the love of God. The people God has placed around you have become your purpose. Don't underestimate the power of vision and purpose. They are irresistible forces, and they're able to transform things that seem like a mountain into things that can be easily traversed. Start by believing that God is going to use you, and then step out on faith. As a German philosopher, Nietzsche said, He whose life has a why can bear almost any how. You may not know how, but man, if you got a why, you can do it. So will you partner with us? Will you sacrifice for this? Will you sacrifice your comfort, your finances, your free time, all for a why? If we want to plant churches in North Broward, we're going to need some funds to do it. Will you sacrifice for it? And I know sometimes we feel like, they don't really need me. I'm just kind of the sit in the back row guy. And it's time for you to stop believing that, because it's just not true. It's a flat lie that comes from Satan. If you're an older person, you feel like, wow, there's a lot of younger people raising up. We still need you. We need you probably even more now than we ever have. Need you to be to teach the younger, also to reach and set a great example. If you're a younger person, we need you. We need you to be the legs of the church, to go out ahead, to try new things, to fail miserably, and then try again. If you're a middle-aged person and you have kids, we need you too. We need you to be a great example to the world of what a proper marriage looks like, what a proper parenting style looks like, and we need you to reject the notion that somehow you aren't needed anymore. You are needed. We are a small church, but we got a big vision, and you and I are a part of it. John Sully was an executive at the Pepsi company when he was approached by Apple CEO Steve Jobs, and this is what Apple CEO Steve Jobs said to this executive at Pepsi. I love this quote as he was trying to recruit him. He says, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?" I mean, that's the choice we have. Will we settle for something that has no eternal impact, or will we commit ourselves to God using us for a vision and a purpose that is greater than any of us individually? Will we push aside the temporal things and embrace the eternal? Don't sell Pepsi water or sugar water your whole life. Come with us and let's change the world. starting with this county. Win this county for Christ. The other two are really quick, but we want to train believers to imitate Christ. The role of the church is to train disciples. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11 reminds us of this. So Christ himself gave apostles and prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and the teachers to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we have reached unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. We're going to talk about this more over the next couple of weeks, but we as a church leadership are committed to training. We are committed to this in a way that we've never been committed to it before. Training will be available to anybody who wants it. Through our Wednesday night services, which I encourage you to come. They've been some amazing classes that we're having. In these times, we're going to cover prayer. Right now, we're covering how to have a lifestyle of prayer. We're also covering how to read the Bible in a separate class. We're training in the summer about parenting and about marriages. We're going to have leadership training that's going on right now on Wednesday night. If anybody wants to learn to lead a small group, and then we're going to instill in our community group leaders a sense of training for their members. This is our mandate, and so we're going to do it. You have a great opportunity, and so I encourage you you have a great opportunity to be your best, so I encourage you to participate in it. Second part of our vision. The third part of our vision is to send disciples to impact the community. You could have said this a different way. We want to empower you to live out the dreams that God has placed in your life. That's what we're talking about here. In Luke 10, when Jesus sends out the disciples, he doesn't send them to faraway places. Instead, he sends them to villages around. And he empowers them, and he encourages them, and he gives them strength so that they can be successful. We want to do the same thing. If you have a dream for God, we want to empower you. We want to partner with you. We want to figure out how to make it happen. If you have a dream for a certain demographic of people or your neighbors or friends, or you're trying to figure out how to reach your coworkers, we want to be with you, send you out, and then cheer you on. We want to pray for you and connect with you. I want to send out people into the medical field and send out people onto college campuses and in small businesses and at high school to display the love of God to the rest of this community. Win, train, send. Here are three really practical things. 2019, these are some goals that we have. Again, I'm speaking to you like you're the staff. A couple of things. Number one, we want to double our growth from last year. It's a dream we have. I ask for you to pray for that dream. We want to begin to explore North Broward. What that means is we're going to start looking up there so that hopefully by 2020 we can make it happen. That's our dream. We want to make it happen. We're going to walk by faith. And so as we're doing that, again, I want to encourage you to pray for it. I want to encourage you to pray for it and also to pray some radical prayers. I want to encourage you to pray that someone gives us a building in North Broward. I don't know. Step out on faith. Let's make it happen. We're also going to establish our training curriculum and really make it codified, solidified, so that we can have a great training for all disciples and leaders alike. This is the last little encouragement is kind of a weird one, but I want to tell you why. We want to move to online giving. As Joe mentioned today, the trays pass and no one's putting anything in it because most people give online. We would like to move the majority of the church giving online. The reason why we want to do that is because if we're going to try to explore these new campuses, we need a sort of a sense of what type of revenue is coming in. And so just to be honest, it helps us a lot when you're online and you have recurring giving. It just helps us a lot to figure those numbers out and really come up with plans to reach more people. So if you can do that, great. Dream about it, think about it, talk to your spouse or talk to your roommate, or if you can partner with this congregation and give online, that would be absolutely amazing. Let me leave you with one last little encouragement. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18 says this. I want to give you the value of vision. In the New American Standard, it says, where there is no vision, where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained. The King James says something a little bit different, but I think it's the same principle. Where there is no vision, the people perish, is what it says. The principle is this: when people lose sight of vision, they lose themselves. And you know this. Some of you have been around for 30 years. You were baptized with sort of a sense of vision. And over time, that vision has waned. It's kind of gone away. I heard it said this way one time: vision leaks. And that's what happened. Over time, it just kind of goes away. The bucket is filled, if you will. And then over time, it just kind of goes away. Every day of life works against the vision. Because vision is about the future, but life is about right now. Life is about our kids and our laundry and our doctor's appointments and the fact that we missed a house payment and the fact that, we're struggling. But vision leaks because Monday comes around and just kind of rips it off the wall. The urgent and legitimate needs of today can cause us to lose vision. And so I want to encourage you to have a sense of spirituality that you've never had before so that God can continue to fill your bucket with vision. We're going to bring this up. We're going to talk about this all the time. We're going to talk about it every single Sunday, remind you of what our calling is. And I want to encourage you, as that's happening, to sort of connect to God in a way that you've never connected to Him before. I want to give you two things that I think could help us make this vision come to life. Two practicals that you can do today. One is to pray. Pray every day for the vision of this church. Put a reminder on your phone. I have one set for 9:38 every morning and 9:38 every evening. I don't want to explain why, but every single day, pray twice a day for the vision of this church. And then two, participate. It's easy to sit on the sidelines. It's harder to get to work, to be a part of it. And so I want to make it really easy for you. On your seats, there's an envelope. That envelope has 5 invitation cards. I want to encourage you to pass them out to somebody this week. It's just a step forward to be a part of what we're doing. And as we begin the vision, I just want you to know that I wouldn't want to start this vision with any other group of people. I love you guys. I think you're awesome. You are God's chosen vessel for this moment in time, and I cannot wait to see what happens when we lay down who we were for the sake of something greater than ourselves, how God blesses it. Our churches had a song in 1988. There was a song that sort of stirred in us a vision. I want to invite the worship team to come on up. There was a song that reminds us of the vision of old, but I believe it's a perfectly fitting for a vision of today. It's a song called Men Who Dream. And if you don't know the song, you can just kind of like make it up, watermelon yourself out there. But if you know this song, I want to encourage you to sing it out, to like make some noise. And then afterwards, John is going to come and have some closing thoughts. I pray for this church, for courage for this church, and for us to achieve the visions that God has laid before us.